points out of a wild card spot, 11 points out of that last Pacific Division spot with only 6 games remaining. I mean, they're pretty much dead and done. So they're going to want to play spoiler. That's what I'm hoping. But the Kings are a scary team. I mean, they've got a lot of guys who can hurt you. They got Carter back about 3/4 of the way through the season. He's been good for them. So I'm worried, but I like how the Ducks are kind of grinding out these games. I mean, Quacking Steve said in the chat it was like our Ducks from a few years back, poor in the second, great comeback in the third. So I'm hoping that the Ducks can kind of squeak in and LA just falls just outside of that last wildcard spot, because it'd be great to see them not make the playoffs.
It would be great for me too in my pocketbook here. Otherwise, I owe my buddy tickets if the Kings make the playoffs. We're both Ducks fans, but he thinks I'm crazy for thinking they're not going to make it. Right now, they are 2 points behind the Ducks, and they're tied with St. Louis in that last wild card spot. But St. Louis has got another win. Going to be interesting down to the wire, man. We're going to see how things go. And I want to stay on the standings here for a minute, if you don't mind. But the San Jose Sharks, as much as I said I would rather face them over anybody, they're 8-2 in their last 10, and they have won 7 straight games. Yep. They're a deadly team.
It's been scary to watch them play, because they've just been dominating pretty much every team that they've faced. I mean, you look at their last 5 wins here: 7-4, 5-3, 6-2, 2-1 in overtime against Vegas, and a 5-1 thrashing of the Flames yesterday. It's just been massacre after massacre for them, and kind of Evander Kane sort of been at the front of that. He had the 4 goals against Calgary, then went pointless, and then had 2 goals against Calgary last night. So he's obviously victimizing Calgary in their last 2 games with 6 goals. But that's the type of production you hope to get from a guy you get at the deadline. And unfortunately for the Ducks, it's tough watching a guy that they were in on succeed with a rival and have them on a 7-game winning streak. And I think the big thing for them as well is they've kind of solved their goalie issue. I mean, at the middle part where they weren't necessarily playing as well, and they're bouncing around between the Kings at second and in the third spot in the Pacific, it was Aaron Dell and Martin Jones kind of swapping starts each and every night. And now Martin Jones has had 3 strong starts in a row against some very good teams, and he looks to have grabbed that number 1 spot back, and that's going to be scary. I mean, that's why they've essentially gone on this run and won 7 games in a row and are a scary team to face in the playoffs, because when Martin Jones is on his game, he's a very good goaltender.
He's underrated, I feel like.
Yeah.
He doesn't get talked about a lot. I feel like John Gibson's a better goaltender, but Martin Jones is no slouch. I feel like he doesn't get enough credit there in San Jose.
Yeah.
There's, like you said, man, that Evander Kane pickup was huge for them. I think it would have just done wonders for that Anaheim offense. A lot of people were worried about the baggage he would bring there, but I don't know, man. He can score goals. He plays.
Doesn't even look like it. I mean, I haven't heard any really since that money situation and some of the allegations that came out against him. I haven't really heard anything negative in him and with him and kind of stuff outside the game in over a year. I feel like it's just people looking back and at stuff he's done in the past and kind of bringing it up and always saying, oh, he's got issues in the locker room and this and that. I mean, he looked like the Sabres players when he was there. They really appreciated him being there. He was well liked in the locker room, and now you see him go to San Jose, and he's made friends quickly, produced on the ice. It doesn't really seem like he's a guy that brings a lot of baggage with him and just kind of has problems wherever he goes. I mean, he's fit seamlessly into that Sharks team.
Yeah, and I know we don't know him on a personal level, and nobody knows what really goes on behind the scenes. But I mean, Jumbo Joe, a well-respected player in the NHL in person outside of it, and in the San Jose area, picked up Evander Kane from the airport when he got traded there. Big old smile on his face, excited to have him there. I mean,
Speaking
something about the excitement
of Jumbo Joe. This is a 7-game win streak without Joe Thornton in the lineup.
Yeah,
he's been out, and they've won this many games. Imagine when he gets back, how much of a more difficult team they're going to have faced to match up against. I mean, that's just scary. I still pick them to face them over Vegas and Nashville, but it is getting harder and harder by the minute to pick them over other teams.
It's mostly, I feel like, because the Ducks have looked slow.
Yeah.
Against good teams, they just look slow. And Evander Kane's not a slow guy. Pavelski's not a slow guy. There's other players on that San Jose team that I can't think of at the top of my head. I know are quicker players than what the Ducks have in their lineup. Yeah. And we all know what Vegas can do to you. They're slumping right now, but that doesn't mean that in the playoffs they're not going to get fired up in that T-Mobile Arena. They're going to fill that building to the brim with crazy fans. It's going to be insane in that building. I wouldn't want to go play there either. I feel like the Ducks would have a better chance. I still feel like against San Jose, just based on the games played throughout this season. So they have their chance to make their move and solidify that division spot. They got to keep winning here. Obviously, that's how it's going to go. But we'll see. We got LA to deal with. They still got Vancouver coming up here this week on Tuesday. So the Ducks have an interesting week ahead. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Nick Ritchie and Ondrej Kase. They've kind of shifting gears. So they've both been kind of, I don't know, slumping. Yes, they've had chances. Yeah. They just haven't been putting the puck in the net. They were relegated down to 11 minutes tonight. Henrique played about 15. Henrique with 2 goals in the night. Do you feel like maybe it's because of their production? This is something the coaching staff decided to do? Or have you seen a tick in their play where Carlisle's kind of like, no, I'm not dealing with that?
I feel like it has to do with their production a little bit. But other than that game against Winnipeg, I felt like they were getting things done, but they didn't get the luck on the score sheet. I mean, we would look at their numbers. I think there was one night, and I believe it was against New Jersey, where they were like 90% Corsi for percentage, but they had no points on the night. But they looked dominant in that game. And I feel like just looking at what they had done in the game against Winnipeg, they weren't that great. And now just kind of getting relegated to about 11 or 10 minutes is just maybe a wake-up call a bit. Because I feel like Kase had a really strong game. He had a couple good chances, could have got a goal or two in this game. On the other hand, though, Nick Ritchie didn't look that great. And really the only memorable play he had was the dumb penalty he took that led to the goal from Ethan Bear. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what they do because I not necessarily think it would benefit the line by taking Nick Ritchie and maybe plugging somebody in, but somebody now that we're on red alert for in Troy Terry could be a guy that could fit nicely on that line with Henrique and Ondrej Kase.
Let's talk about it, man. There's some news out there about Troy Terry, as you put in our notes. The Troy Terry watch. Denver lost to Ohio State. And that would mean Troy Terry is now eligible to sign in Anaheim. There was word in our last show that was going to be the case, that he would sign. They didn't say which team, but it looks more and more likely that it's going to be the Ducks. Yeah,
and it's crazy. I mean, we had just talked about Terry going on that third line, and Connor had mentioned that as well. He said if the Ducks sign Terry, what do you see line combos as? Terry on the third line, Ritchie sent down to the fourth. I think that'd be great. It's interesting to see, for one, when he is going to sign, because I remember when Ryan Donato's season ended, he pretty much signed the next day and then was playing in the team the next game. I think it was the same day after that he was playing in the team for Boston. So, I mean, I'm not saying we're going to see anything tomorrow, but he can be signed at any point now. Darren Dreger put out a tweet saying that he expects Troy Terry to sign in Anaheim soon, which is always a good sign. A bunch of people, Eric Stevens saying he also felt like Troy Terry is going to sign with the Anaheim Ducks pretty quickly. So that's always good because we all remember back to Justin Schultz, and it is a different situation. But, it's kind of scary with these NCAA players, and you never know if they're going to sign or not. But it looks like it's going to happen. I just don't know if he actually steps in the lineup or not. I mean, we'll have to see. It all depends on if the coaching staff thinks he can step in right away. Either way, he's going to be either playing with the Ducks or with the Gulls, and I feel like he's going to make a difference whether he plays in the NHL or in the AHL to start.
Let's hope so, because like you said, you never know where they're going to sign, but I mean, honestly, you never know what kind of player you're going to get. He's only played collegiate hockey. You got to think about if he's ready for that speed difference coming into the NHL directly. Yeah. Why not get a taste here if you can slot in on that third line and not be a liability? That's the biggest problem. And I know I've said it a little bit before, is that Randy Carlisle doesn't trust young guys. He likes to leave his big minutes and his, I guess, minutes overall for his vets. It would be interesting to see if he gives Troy Terry the playing time. Do you still feel like he might slot in? Or do you feel him coming up for a Vancouver game? Or do you kind of see him coming in for the big-time game against the Kings?
That's tough. I feel like he deserves a shot, but it all depends on the coaching staff and what they believe in, one, promoting young players into certain games, depending if it's the Vancouver game or the LA game, and if they really even believe he's ready. I mean, I think we had said this when Ryan Donato came up. I think we talked about this on the last show, saying, that the coaches see that around the league where a guy comes up, signs from the NCAA, gets in immediately and makes an impact. And that's what you hope for if Troy Terry is going to come in the lineup, that he can make an offensive impact right off the bat. If he does, if that's something he's going to do, I don't know. I feel like putting him on a line with Henrique and Cash gives him a pretty good opportunity, and I feel like that's the line he'd probably succeed the most on. I don't see them bumping Perry off the first line and throwing him right out into the fire with Getzlaf and Raquel, but I feel like he deserves a shot. I feel like it's worth the risk to throw him in one game and give him a chance to show what he can do. I don't feel like he's going to be any worse than Chris Kelly in the lineup. I mean, if you look at the guy who would come out, it'd probably be Chris Kelly. And why not give Troy Terry a chance on the third line and bump Richie down to the fourth?
How dare you talk about Captain Canada like that? I mean, that's your guy. Chris Kelly's your guy. He represented your country. You're going to sit there and bash him and say he should be taken out of the lineup. I'm just very surprised as a... that you're a Canadian and you're going to bash another Canadian like that. But, I mean, whatever, man.
Yeah, I had forgotten that he was Captain Canada because, the Olympics were just so captivating this year. I completely forgot.
Well, we got to talk about, if you're going to say captivating, women's hockey was amazing. And it just put the spotlight on it, as we talked about. But, yeah, Chris Kelly, I don't think I'd miss his 5 minutes that he played tonight. I would love to see a young player roll in like that. And why not? Why do you have to play these crash and bangers in the fourth line? Shouldn't you be trying to roll four lines and like your fourth line maybe being like a group of young kids trying to come up and make the NHL and see what they can do in a couple of games where they're not going to have a severe impact on your team? You play them the soft minutes and you let them feel the flow of the game. Why? I don't see the problem in it at all. I would love to see Troy Terry.
Yeah, I feel like if you brought him up to play in the fourth line, it's probably not worth it, especially if he's going to play 8 minutes a night. I feel like you might as well just send him down to San Diego and play him there. But if you're going to give him a shot on like the third line where he's playing about 12, 13 minutes a night with some guys who can actually create offense in Henrique and Cash, I think that's the best opportunity for him to succeed. And at this point, I think we all believe Richie's just not cutting it lately on that third line, and maybe it's a wake-up call to send him down to the fourth line and have a little bit less minutes and kind of think about his production as of late. And, it's hard to say about what type of production you're going to get from Terry because we haven't seen him play in the NHL, of course, or really in pro hockey other than NCAA and the World Juniors. So you don't know what type of production he's going to have, but I feel like right now you might as well give him the shot and just see what he can do. There's nothing hurting you by playing him one game, 12, 13 minutes, 5-on-5. Maybe not giving him the power play time and the penalty kill time, just kind of seeing what he can do on that third line. Why not? Why not if he signs tomorrow, why not play him against Vancouver and give him that shot?
I agree with you, man. Let's if you don't have any more news on this game, I know we talked a bunch about Troy Terry. I'd love to see him in Vancouver too, but we should probably get to some questions here. I know we have a few.
Yeah, we've got a bunch today, which is great because everything was dead after that Winnipeg game. Twitter was dead, Reddit was dead, so we've got a whole bunch here. So I'll start with the chat because these guys are sticking out live. They're here, they're listening. So I'll start with Christopher's question in the chat. He said, "What did you guys think about the defense really pushing the offense tonight?"
I agree, man. That's what I said at the beginning of the show when we talked about Josh Manson scoring. It was driven from the D. Pettersson shot, Henrique tipped it in, Fowler's wraparound, Perry tipped it in, Manson with the goal, Lindholm cleaning up the rebound by Raquel making that chance, Montour throwing the puck on net, and Henrique getting a clip on it. This was all the young defensemen here, playing huge roles in this win. It was great to see. This is the kind of Ducks defensive core we've been talking about for years, and we just said these guys are so good, they're so good, wait till they come up. If these guys are this good and they're holding back a guy like Jacob Larson, they keep saying he's great, it would be interesting to see when he gets his opportunity. But for right now, I'm pretty happy with this Ducks blue line, aren't you?
Yeah, before you even said that, I honestly didn't realize that all 5 of the Ducks' 6 defensemen were directly involved in those goals. I knew that Manson had the goal, Lindholm had the goal, but you had Pettersson, Fowler, and Montour with the primary assists on the other 3. So, perfect question from Christopher bringing that up, talking about how they're pushing the offense tonight. That's what you need. And what a surprise, it's the 5 younger guys in the lineup. Not to slight Boschman, but of course he wasn't involved in the scoring. But, that's what you need. The Ducks have one of the best young, mobile defensemen defense core in the National Hockey League, and to see them all contribute and step up in this game is great. I mean, they're going to need that down the stretch.
Absolutely.
Let's continue with the chat.